Hey and welcome to my review of Idle Manager, a game that looks like a good meme at first, but turned into a good story and management game in the end. So what is Idle Manager exactly? Idle Manager is an economy/talent management game, where you run your own Japanese idol group. So you have to find the right idols, create songs, manage relations between your idols, etc. So what does the gameplay look like? The gameplay itself is mostly played on the same screen. In the screen you have a 2D side view of the tower where your offices are located in. In the tower you can build staff rooms, studios, etc. or later on stages and coffees to generate money. The rest of the game is played via the UI in the top left, where you choose the action that you want to do and drag and drop to the fitting location. You may now ask if it's everything, and that's a good question, so we should head into the gameplay section of this review. To be blatant, the gameplay of Idle Manager is quite simple and is getting quite repetitive quickly, especially when you grind towards a target for a long time. Overall, you control the game mostly via the icons in the top left. Here you create content and manage your stuff and rules. So 9% of the time you just click one of the icons to select what you want to do, select some options and drag and drop it to the right person. Next to that you also face a quite simple building system. You have 7 types of rooms that you can build across the tower. In the end, you most likely just stack up rooms to drain your idols or recover their energy. Sadly, also every room of each type looks the same, and the stuff icons are also the same, only the criteria that idols have different pictures. So managing your tower in the later stages of the game can be quite tedious since everything looks the same. Next to the normal gameplay, you also can organize concerts. But as with the other things, they get quite repetitive. At first you draw power-up cards that can help you out with the concert. After that, you see the song or talk break that is coming up, plus the percentage counter of how likely it's to have a failure. If you get a failure, you always have 2 options. These are always random, so for example, there's a failure state where water is on the stage. Here you can choose to continue or dry the stage. And here we go. Both answers are right and wrong, because it's also random which decision is the right one. As you may notice, this can get quite tedious when you do them regularly, since a concert usually ends on full hype anyway. So there is no real challenge to win here. Please give me a skip choice or at least a skip of the spin. As you may notice, the gameplay is not really challenging, but now we get to the real challenge. And no, it's not the idols, it's the finance part. So I went in there blind, without knowing how to manage the finances or generate money. Which meant that I went bankrupt like 40% of the player base. And yeah, you can check this via Steam achievements. After Fujimoto bailed me out once, I was looking up some guides and tutorials on how to get out of the grave that I shoveled myself. I learned that you can cheese the hell out of the finances. So here's a quick rundown on how to do it. First you create enough songs to do concerts. Here we come back to the tedious part of concerts. In the meanwhile, you do a promo show to build up a fan base every time the cooldown ran out. As soon as you can do the concerts, just do them every 30 days. With the ticket price of 100,000 yen. I know it sounds stupid, but it works. And of course, the more fans, the more stupid hardcore fans show up at these scam festivals, which ends up in a stupid amount of profit later on. You of course can also get self-sustain in a mid-game and later stage, by building theaters for your groups and offering out subscription. These mostly gonna generate more money than you spend overall. I for example skipped concerts from chapter 5 to 6 in the story since I had like 8 billions in my bank and had no option to spend them. So as said, at first finance are quite challenging, but as soon as you find out how to handle them or how to cheese them, it's getting really easy to manage that. Coming to the next part, the idle and group management. Idle management is quite simple. You hire idols via auditions. You have 3 types of auditions, a cheap one, a medium one and an expensive one. In every single type of audition you have a certain percentage to get silver or gold rated idols. so better idols in the end. Idols are rated from 0 to 99, plus a potential in every single category that you can see. So for example, if you have a 50 overall, but with a high potential, you of course get them better over time. Coming to that point, thankfully the coaching is fully automated. In the rules tab, you can regulate how the idols should train, how much energy they could drain, etc. So you just tell them different codes to auto train, and the idol that fits automatically trains there until it reaches the threshold of stamina. Also, depending on your rules, you're getting random events for the idols, like dating someone or a mistake in a live stream. In these events, you get several options on how you can react, which can lead into scandal points, which are bad for your group, a friendship loss, or plus even, and of course fans' reactions like shifting to a different idol, or even left the group, like the fan left the group. Thankfully, these events are not as RNG based than the concert one. So you can dodge most of the bad points like scandal points or fan lossage. Idols also have relations with each other, so you can end up with different cliques, idols that bully each other, or even couples. Of course, when I talk about couples, you can also date your idol. So if you have an advanced friendship with an idol, you can try to flirt with her and hope for the best. If she's interested in you and you're lucky, she ends up with you. If that's a plus or minus, I don't know. I don't care actually. But sadly, no feature in this game comes without tedious part. And the tedious part about everything that I told so far is the bully system. When someone is getting bullied, you get notified that an idol is getting bullied. But you cannot stop it until someone spills the bean, even when you know who it is. So you have the option to bring them into different subgroups, but that doesn't help it long term. Instead, you have to talk over and over again until one of the idols is spilling the beans. This is just horrendous. You also need influence level with the bully, otherwise you cannot choose the option to stop the bully. You only can like kick her for the group, and that's obviously not the thing that you want to do. In real life I would kick it, but that's another thing. The thing that I hate the most, you don't need influence to stop bullying. Bullying doesn't stop with a nice question like, hey, I know that you have high influence with me, please stop bullying. It's just stupid. We talk here about a management game, and you run this group, you're their boss. If you tell them to get off, then they have to get off. I don't know. It's a touchy topic for me, and I don't think that they managed well this whole bully thingy. Maybe they should have just scrapped it at all. I already touched it a little bit with the you can switch the girls in between groups. It's the group management. You have one main group, and you can create several subgroups, which are quite broken. So in the end, when you have several groups, you always, when you write a song, choose which band is performing it. So since you get malice when releasing singles too often, you just split the songs between different groups. Also, as said, the subgroups are quite broken. The rate these groups generate fans, just off. Sometimes it feels like that the subgroups are generating more fans than the main group. The sales are also extremely high compared to your main group. Maybe I think wrong here, but I don't think that a subgroup should have more momentum than the main group. I don't know. As you may notice, I was not too stunned by the gameplay. Still, I think it's a solid gameplay for a management game. I just think that all the system could be more polished and fleshed out, so you don't have too often the tedious parts. But overall, as said, it's just solid, and you can sing a lot of time without noticing it. It's just me after 35 hours complaining about some tedious part. Now we come to probably the longest part of the video, and that's the story. At first, I thought a story in an economy management game is all about teaching me the basics for the freeplay mode later on. But I couldn't be more wrong about it. After playing the story, I think it's one of the stronger arguments actually of the game. Thanks to the JRPG style approach, they mix up the normal boring menu gameplay of management games and bring in some interesting cutscenes. So this section is of course a spoiler section. If you don't want to get spoiled because you want to play the story yourself, then please skip to the next chapter in the video or to the time that's now on the screen. In chapter 1, you start off by meeting your investor Fujimoto and your rival. After you met them, you get thrown into the game, and basically you try to survive and get the group up and running. While you grind your way up, you need every publicity that you can get. So Fujimoto gets you an invitation to a local show, where you face off against other groups from the region, and of course, you end up in the final round against your rival, who have won that. Now the twist is that you don't want to win this competition, since the prize is not worth your time. And Fujimoto is so nice and lets you know that in before. So a cringy face-off starts where no one wants win, since both doesn't want to win. After losing the battle, you end up with the mission to get top spot in the charts. A mission that took me far longer than it should have been. I've ended up grinding for hours to get enough fans to beat my rival's band for the top spot. I don't know if I played too slow or wrong, but I personally feel like the sale numbers of the rival band are just off. They're selling so many copies that it's hard to get the funding of everything going, like keeping the group running and at the same time trying to beat them. But after grinding for hours, I finally got top spot and came into chapter 2. Chapter 2 is technically a follow-up to chapter 1. A national TV group invites you to an idol face-off show on national TV. So instead of the regional TV, you get airtime on national TV. At first this sounds good, but then you get told that your rival is a jury member, which could decide about your whereabouts in the show. But you are not the only one that worries about your rival, since you need a new character, a journalist named Aya, who asks you straight if you think that could be bad. I told her personally that everything is fine, since we all know it's a game. If the story brings me a hiccup, then I take it and don't moan about it. So when the audition came, I was already thinking that we get tossed out for story reasons, but in a twist our rival save us from dropping out of the show. But what we don't know is that our rival is toying with us the whole time. After the audition, we already come to chapter 3. You may notice the speed of chapters pick up a little bit. In chapter 3, you face your first real decision of the game. The TV show that you take part in wants to sell the rights overseas. At first, you think it's a good thing, you get time on the air over the whole world. But of course, there's a catch. The station doesn't want to sell the rights of the season, instead they want to sell the formula of the show overseas, which bring up your rival that starts a vendetta against the station for the decision, and there we slowly understand that our rival kept us in the show to use us for her own gain, of course. As said, you face the first big decision. You have the option to follow your rival and pull out, or stay put and brush the negative publicity away. The interesting part here is, not only you face the decision to fulfill the contract, but you also have to choose between two idols. Since the idol that entered the show wants to stay in the competition, while another idol asks you to leave the competition. After your decision, you either to pull out or stay, you face a short scene where the idol that you let down tells you that she thinks that you are not good enough for her and leaves. Which brings us directly in chapter 4. Chapter 4 is my personal favorite of the game, since it not only comes with a new storyline, it also changed the background and the music of the game, fittingly to it. In chapter 4, a new idol band is coming up, and is rising up rapidly by being mysterious and keeping the idols behind numbers and masks. In chapter 4, the stories also changes from the group aspect to the personal story of the 3 characters that we met so far. While your group and your staff try to find out who is the mysterious band, you meet up with the other 3. For example, your investor Fujimoto wants to get away from the shady business that he's in, which ends up in some interesting conversations. I also wanna be vague here since I don't wanna spoil too many plots, so you have to still explore some stuff. After you finish the different lines, you have to decide which character you wanna go with. I personally decide to go with Aya, since I loved her quirkiness. This also brings a new strong idol, since she is joining you as an idol when you choose her. After that, you move on to chapter 5. In chapter 5, you get a call that the Ministry of Culture wants to interview to fill a music act for the upcoming Summer Olympic Games. After the first meeting of the committee, you get the first time mission of the whole game that also can lose you the game. You have 2 months to fulfill 4 points. If you don't fulfill these 4 points, you lose out of the selection and the story game is over. I lost the first time, since I haven't got enough fans and my scanner limit was bugged. But thankfully, the game saves every chapter, which meant I could start from chapter 5 again. When you manage to get the spot, you move on to chapter 6, the last chapter of the game. Here you only have 1 task to complete and no plot. Just don't mess up and don't have any big scandals. Basically, just lay back and wait for the end scene. That is also what I did. I just waited the whole time and managed scandals when they came up. Before the last show, you also get some interesting snippets of the Olympic Games and the last conversation. After the show starts, the story is over and the credits starts rolling. After the credits, you also can play the story slot as a normal free play. But in the end, I was amazed to see such a long and fun story in the management game. So instead of playing the free mode, first I would encourage you to start with the story mode. Now we come to the graphics of the game. I personally like pixel art, and the anime style characters and story scenes also fit it extremely well. So the art and the graphics are for me a big plus point. But as said in the stuff and room section, at certain points the art is just overused. Why do we have only one room version or one icon for the stuff? I know it's focused on the idols and you have the option to style them how you wanna have them, but at least some differences should be there between rooms and staff members, since so it looks kinda lazy. Also we have a different background in chapter 4, which shows how much a little change can impact the art. So why is the background of other days the same every day? It is the same here like with the rooms or the stuff, just some minor changes like seasons or daytime would impact so much. But what the game doesn't have in diversity, you can get with one click via the Steam Workshop. Yeah, the game also has a Steam Workshop, which adds clothes, hairs and new idols. Then the sound. The overall sound of the game is really well done, even when I repeat myself here that some changes to the background music would be good, since hearing the same loop over and over again can be quite tiring. Otherwise, the chapter 4 background music is amazing, and the credits song that plays at the Summer Games, it's just amazing. Why just bring in so short snippets instead of expanding this library of sounds, especially in an idol manager? So after all the points that I told you, we come to the conclusion. Overall, I have so far around 35 hours in the game. And even I pick at the gameplay a little bit, or the repetitiveness of the art, I had a really good time in it. And I'm gonna play the game once in a while, the story is amazing. Also the game only comes with a price tag of 70 euros. And when I compare it with some bigger games with a much higher price tag, I can't complain about it at all. For the money they ask, they deliver a really good game. So even when you're not into anime or idols, just give it a try. It's a good niche management game and truly spices the genre a little bit up from the normal transport sports management games where you transport goods or manage a sport team. In the end, I would definitely say that you should give Idol Manager a try, even with the minor issues that I have with the title. It still brings a new element to management games with a genre to manage that is normally not touched in games like this. I hope I could help you out with this review and you enjoyed the video. Have a good day and I will see you in the next review. Bye!